Who should not upgrade to the iPhone 17? We think of upgrades as rewards, as progress, as the neat punctuation marks of desire. New glass, a faster chip, a camera that makes memory feel less accidental. But there is another question, quieter and sometimes ashamed. Who are we when we upgrade? This essay is about that uneasy moment. It will use the modest case of the iPhone 17 release to examine the larger rituals of value, impatience, identity, and imagination. My claim is simple but not simple-minded. Upgrades are not just technical improvements. They are invitations to reshuffle how we live and tell stories about ourselves. First, the language of want. Why do we speak of hardware as if it were a moral upgrade? When a phone promises faster or more capable, we hear not only speed, but also status. Faster means less waiting, which in cultural shorthand equals more life. More capable signals that we are prepared. But prepared for what? For emergencies? For creativity? For the quick social proof that comes when a photo looks better in a feed? And if so, how much of that preparation is practical and how much is theatrical? Second, every upgrade is a ledger filled with trade-offs. Larger screens may bring better typing and a more cinematic feed, but they also change grip, pocket, and the small choreography of ordinary days. A faster chip lengthens the margin of what you can do, yet it also invites new background processes, new features you did not ask for, and sometimes a hunger to test what you have purchased. Where do we draw the line of sufficiency? If your device already lets you work, talk, navigate, and record the moments you care about, is the incremental better worth the recalibration of habits and money? Third, there is the quiet mechanics of permission. Who or what gives us the right to upgrade? Is it marketing, the soft pressure of glossy ads and influencers whose lives appear polished by the perfect light? Is it our friends, the quick upward nudge that arrives when everyone has the new model and their notifications look different? Is it the memory of a better purchase, a rationalization we rehearse to quell the dissonance of spending? Or is permission internal, a curiosity that will not rest until you press the button? Fourth, consider distribution. A new phone amplifies the capacities of those already connected to fast networks and rich apps. It may do little for those whose life circumstances constrain access or who cannot afford repeated upgrades. Is the iPhone 17 a tool of widening opportunity, or is it another rung on a ladder whose bottom is losing purchase? This is not to moralize. Technology has undeniable gifts, but to name the unevenness that clings to every new release. Who benefits most from marginal improvements in battery life or AI features? Fifth, look at aesthetics and identity. The iPhone 17's thinner bezels, new colors, and sculpted forms are not merely visual flourishes. They are statements you can hold in your hand. Is choosing a particular shade of green or a new Pro silhouette a performance? Do such choices signal taste, belonging, or a wish to appear contained within a certain future? And what if our phone's look recalibrates how we present ourselves? A subtler avatar upgrade than profile pictures or bios. Finally, consider promise. Chips, AI features, battery improvements, these are not isolated innovations but promises. Apple markets Apple Intelligence. It suggests a horizon where the phone anticipates and augments. But who receives the promises first and who must wait or be left behind? Is the promise of AI merely an incremental convenience, or does it subtly reorganize labor, attention, and the forms of knowledge we trust? If a phone can summarize, translate, and suggest, what parts of our mental life are being outsourced and at what cultural cost? Who will curate our memories, the people we love, our own fragmented attention, or an algorithm that favors shareable impressions? So who should not upgrade? Begin with the practical. If your existing phone does the work, calls, messages, navigation, casual photography, do you need the iPhone 17? How often do you truly miss a faster chip or a marginal battery gain? Do the new features address problems you actually have, or do they create new wants? Consider the thinness of changes between sequential models. Is upgrading from 15 to 17 a leap or a series of steps? If your 15 is fine, does the aesthetic improvement justify the expense? If you have a 13 or older, the calculus changes. Better battery, better camera, and a more modern interface may feel like returning to life. Emotionally, upgrades can be consolations or exhibitions. They calm the anxiety that arises when a beloved device begins to track, or they affirm a chosen identity in public.
How much of our upgrade impulse is response to fear of missing out, of falling behind, rather than reasoned improvement? Does buying a new phone soothe insecurity like a new suit or a haircut does? And if so, does it matter? For some, the answer is deeply practical. For others, it is theatrical. Upgrading has economic rhythm. Planned obsolescence, trade-in credits, installment payments, and promotional windows rearrange decisions into fiscal choreography. The availability of 0% financing or gift bundles nudges the nervous buyer. But does spreading the cost trivialize the decision, making impulse easier and reflection thinner? And environmental costs press at the edges. What is the toll of manufacturing millions of luminous rectangles every year? If everyone upgraded every year, what would happen to the planet and to our sense of sufficiency? Do we owe restraint to the future, and how is that reconciled with the human appetite for novelty? So, what practical stance might a thoughtful person take? First, ask what the phone will change in your life. Second, count the invisible costs, subscription features you might pay for, adapters, cases, and the time spent migrating data. Third, imagine the road ahead. Will this device remain relevant in 2 years, or will the next update change the experience enough to regret your choice? Fourth, resist the theatrics. If your upgrade impulse banks as much on status as utility, pause. Fifth, consider patience as power. Often, waiting reveals which features settle into everyday life and which are marketing ephemera. But then there is also the counterargument. Patience can become stagnation. At what point does waiting become a refusal to engage with new tools that could genuinely improve your day? This is a personal balance, and it must be answered by individuals who weigh curiosity against cost and habit against novelty. There are rituals that soften the break: backing up carefully, selling the old device, transferring photos, choosing cases that protect and delight. These small acts reframe upgrading from wasteful consumption to a ceremonial passage. They allow memory to be migrated, not erased. Your photos, your messages, the traces of months and years. How you honor the old device matters as much as the choice to acquire the new. If we treat our gadgets as disposable, do we not train ourselves for a disposable life? If instead we steward transitions, repairing when possible, trading when sensible, do we cultivate care? Upgrading is social. Your choices bleed into friend groups. When one adopts an ecosystem, others feel a magnetic tug. But why do we derive status from technological sameness? Is it efficiency, the desire for shared features, or the quieter fear of being left at a compatibility disadvantage? Sometimes the best argument against upgrading is simply to refuse replication. Be the person whose devices are mismatched and whose life is not curated by the latest OS. Other times, collaboration demands common platforms. Family sharing, app compatibility, and shared subscriptions can matter. A phone is a companion as much as a tool. It carries our maps, our private jokes, our receipts, and our fears. Choosing a companion is an intimate act. Who are you inviting into your pocket? If the iPhone 17 will sit beside you for years, what life does it encourage? Does its camera teach you to look differently? Its battery to plan differently? Its AI to defer certain tasks? A device shapes practice. It is both instrument and pedagogue. There is moral minimalism in refusal. Not upgrading can be an ethical stance, a kind of anti-accelerationism that values sufficiency and repair over always-on novelty. But such minimalism can also shade into snobbery, judging others for their different thresholds of need. How do we hold the tension between being responsible and being judgmental? Can we cultivate a public ethic that respects different choices while still honoring planetary limits? Perhaps a compassionate stance asks four things: honesty about motives, transparency about costs, a commitment to repair and resell, and an acceptance that others may choose differently. Finally, consider narrative. We use objects to write stories. I am modern, I am efficient, I am creative. But stories are porous. A new device rearranges a story only if we let it change our practices. Will the iPhone 17 coax you toward new habits you intentionally adopt, or will it merely give you the illusion of transformation? How will you narrate your relationship to technology when friends ask why you upgraded, or why you did not? The answers reveal more than preference. They reveal what counts in your life. In the end, the question who should not upgrade to the iPhone 17 dissolves into other, larger questions. It dissolves because upgrades are not mere transactions, but social acts that reflect desire, economics, identity, and ethics. The right answer cannot be given by specifications alone. It requires attention, honesty, and the courage to say no when no is the wiser choice. It also requires generosity, an ability to accept that others will value different things and to resist equating tech choices with moral worth. So, should you upgrade to iPhone 17? If your phone is old, if battery and camera matter deeply, if Apple Intelligence will materially change your workflow, then perhaps yes. If your phone meets your needs, if you dislike the churn of consumption, if you prefer repair and restraint, then perhaps no. Either answer can be wise. What matters is the deliberation. Decide with curiosity, not panic. Decide with generosity for yourself and others. And then act in whatever way aligns your pocketbook and your conscience. The iPhone 17 will sit quiet in your palm and ask nothing. It will only become meaningful through the work you do with it. So what will you let it teach you? Will it be a tool that lightens your day, or a bright new mirror that marks the year you gave yourself permission to change? And if you choose not to upgrade, what story will you tell when someone asks why you stayed with the old device? Your answer will be a sentence about desire, discipline, or delight. That sentence will be small, but it will tell the world who you are when choices are quiet and not screamed by banners and influencers. And in the long run, that is how we will measure the patience and curiosity of a culture, by the stories its people tell about what they keep, not only what they buy. So go gently. Ask many questions. Upgrade when your life will be better for it, and when the replacement honors what you once had. If you do, let the upgrade be an entrance into new practice, not just a cosmetic shift. If you do not, let your refusal be intentional and generous, not default laziness or pride. Either way, live with your answer. And remember that the small rectangle in your hand is only a technology. The person you become while using it is the story that endures. Will you make that story an exercise of curiosity, restraint, care, or will it be another footnote in a chronology of consumption? Decide deliberately and know that in every small choice you write the shape of your future. Then live accordingly and kindly.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the latest update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.